Let's be honest. Feels like the nation's tearing itself apart, doesn't it? Endless battles over everything from foreign policy to what our kids are taught in school to what a peaceful protest means on the streets of Minnesota. Culture wars everywhere. The noise is constant, the arguments are exhausting, right? Feels like the very fabric of our society is the football that Lucy's jerking away from Charlie Brown when he goes to kick it. But what if I told you that the blueprint for peace is already here with us and it's been right here all along? What if I told you that the solution to all this division wasn't some kind of new politics or a new politician or a new idea or a new plan, right? It's all embedded in a 235-year-old document. And that one single document, right, holds the power to dismantle all of these arguments, all of these fights, everything that is going on, all of the various ideologies that threaten our republic, right? And it offers a practical unifying path forward for America. To figure out how we got into this mess, we got to figure out where it came from and how it got started, right? This is a culture war, and it's not just a simple disagreement over policies. It's a fundamental conflict over what America should be, who we want to be as a nation, right? Now, I've done episodes about the left leaning into Marxism, socialism, progressivism. I've done episodes about Islam, right? I've talked about the Red-Green Alliance and how they want to bring down America. But today I want to talk about two different ideologies that are tearing the right apart, that threaten the Conservative Party and are probably going to cause us to lose the midterms. At the heart of this is two conservative values that are powerful, ideological movements that are trying to remake the nation into their own image. And I'm talking about Christian nationalism and Christian Zionism, right? First, let's talk about Christian nationalism, okay? It's the belief that America is and always should be a Christian nation, right? Proponents of this ideology, they want to fuse their specific brand of Christianity into the identity of American civic life. Right? It's not just about personal faith. It's about using the government to enforce a particular set of religious values. Okay? Whether that means mandating prayer in schools or rewriting laws to fit a specific theocracy or a theocratic idea, right? This movement poses a direct challenge to the religious freedoms of Americans, including Christians who disagree, people of other faiths, or the idea that you might not even want to practice religion at all. Then there's the worldview of Christian Zionism, right? This is a theological movement that has the idea that America's acceptance of Israel and our acceptance of Zionism is biblical prophecy, right? Many of its followers believe that, control over the biblical lands is necessary to bring about the second coming of Christ. This belief system, has an influence over American policy, a profound one at that, right? It creates a push for unconditional support for Israel, militarily, financially, diplomatically, right? Not based on what's best for America and our national interest, but the fulfillment of some divine promise. This is an approach that risks entangling the U.S. into forever wars, right? Into foreign conflicts that are tying our national security to a specific belief or doctrine based off of a religion. Both of these ideologies in their own way do the same thing. They put a theological agenda above the needs of the American people, right? Above our founding principles. They seek to use the power of the government to enforce their beliefs, one on the American people at home and the other on our foreign policy, right? The result is a conservative party and a nation that is being torn apart by debates that don't have any resolution, because the two sides aren't just arguing about what government in America is supposed to do, but what about Americans are supposed to be. And this is where we've gone wrong. We've forgotten that the founders gave us a framework. They gave us an ideology that's designed to handle these kinds of differences. That ideology, the answer to all of this, is the Constitution of the United States. As a constitutional conservative, I'm in favor of it, right? Not a reinterpretation of it, not a progressive or conservative fan fiction of it, right? But the actual document itself, right? The Constitution is the ultimate tool for de-escalation because it removes everything off the table, right? It's not a culture war document. It's a rule book for governance, right? It tells us what the government can do, but it also, more importantly, tells us what the government cannot do. It gives us a way forward by ensuring that certain issues are off the table completely. It forces us to step up and stop arguing about whose religion is right or wrong, which country is divinely favored or not, and return us to a neutral, secular, principled foundation. And I'm going to tell you why it had to be secular here in just a moment. The fight over religion in public life is one of the oldest and most bitter parts of our history, right? On one side, you have Christian nationalists who are arguing that America should be officially a Christian nation, and they find that this idea, is an expression, and they put it in proposals like Project 2025 and Project 2026, and those are policy agendas that are aimed to infuse the federal government with a specific interpretation of biblical principles, right? They suggest that using federal agencies to enforce a particular religious viewpoint is a good idea. The constitutional solution disagrees wholeheartedly. Right? The First Amendment gives us two clear and powerful principles when it comes to religion, right? The Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The First Amendment reads in part, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is the bedrock that I'm talking about here, okay? First, let's look at the Establishment Clause. Right? This means that the government cannot declare the United States a Christian nation, right? While the Constitution addresses religion, it doesn't specifically mention Christianity. But the founders debated on this, and they specifically chose to create a secular document, right? They specifically chose to create a secular document, right? And there's a reason for that, right? This clause, it dictates what Jefferson used to call the wall of separation, right? It's a wall of separation between church and state. This principle means that the government can't fund any religious institutions, right? It can't mandate religious displays in public schools, right? It can't do that without a lack of historical context, at least, right? It can't force citizens to participate in religious exercises that they do not want to participate in, like school prayer, right? And this isn't anti-religion, don't get me wrong. This is actually freedom for religion and freedom of religion, right? By preventing the state from taking a side, by preventing the government from taking a side, it protects faith from the government. The second is the Free Exercise Clause, right? This guarantees that every person's right to believe and practice their faith of their choosing without the government getting in the way. The Constitution first approach, right, protects a student's right to pray privately. It protects a Jewish person's right to wear a yarmulke. It protects a Muslim's woman's right to wear a hijab, right? It protects a soldier's right to wear a shamag, okay? But it doesn't give anyone the right to impose, it doesn't give the government any right to impose anyone's beliefs on another person. Your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. Your right to practice your religion ends when you try to use the state to make me practice it too. Should public schools mandate prayer? No. It's a violation of the Establishment Clause. Should the government ban people from forming a prayer group at school? No. That's a violation of the Free Exercise Clause, right? By sticking to the First Amendment, we don't end the debate about religion itself, but we do end the fight over using our government to enforce it or impose it. We can't have an official prayer in schools because not everybody believes the same thing. But we also cannot stop a prayer group from being formed, right? If you get what I'm saying here, you understand how this is working, right? It renders the arguments of Christian nationalism unconstitutional, right? It returns us to a society where all faiths, or no faith at all, are treated equally under the law. The second major front in this is foreign policy, okay? Especially around the divisive conflicts in the Middle East. Here, the ideology of Christian Zionism is exerting a powerful influence whenever it comes to America's foreign policy. It pushes for unwavering U.S. support for Israel based off of theology, right? It often translates into calls for policies like providing billions in aid without conditions and an amount that varies anywhere from $3 to $3.8 billion annually on a memorandum of understanding. We've talked about this before in various episodes. All the links will be down below, right? And it views international relations through the lens of a holy war. This approach is not only divisive here at home, but it also runs contrary to the constitutional framework that was set up about foreign policy. One of the clearest examples is how theological agendas become written into permanent U.S. laws, right? Like the U.S. law about Israel's Qualitative Military Edge, right? That was codified into U.S. law in 2008, guaranteeing that Israel would have military superiority over all and ending combination thereof of their adversaries within the Middle East region, right? It legally requires the United States to ensure that Israel is capable of defeating any combination of their adversaries, right? And this is a special status. We don't do this for anyone else, right? We do help other nations, but we don't guarantee that they'll be able to take on all the nations around them at the same time and win, right? We only do that for Israel, right? It's advocated for by powerful lobbying efforts here in the United States like AIPAC. It hardwires theological priorities into our foreign policy, okay? And American resources and strategic decisions are specific based off of that viewpoint, right? When it comes to foreign affairs, the Constitution isn't an ideological document, right? It's a pragmatic one, okay? The founders were deeply wary of foreign engagements, and foreign entanglements, and as what George Washington called, quote, passionate attachments to other nations, creating a system for making laws and conducting foreign policy that was meant to be deliberative and centered on one thing, American interests, right? The Constitution lays out a process for how laws are made and how the country engages with the world, okay? And that process is designed to be a forum for open debate by the people's elected representatives. A constitutional first approach to all of this would be like subjecting Israel's QME to the same debates that American laws go through, right? It would mean that aid to a country, including Israel, aid to any country, including Israel, would be conditioned on alignment with U.S. security and national needs, right? International law, and not treated as some kind of divine mandate. It would reject the idea that our foreign policy should be bound to another nation due to theological beliefs. Instead of grounding it in secular goals of promoting stability, protecting trade, ensuring the safety of people, right? By returning to the constitutional principles, right, that our legislative process, we dismantle the theological arguments for a state, right? It forces our foreign policy to be debated on its merits and not based off of theological divine intervention, okay? It doesn't mean that we should always agree on that stuff, but what it does mean is that any changes would require an entire nature of the argument, right? The question would no longer be, what does God want for America, but what is the best security and prosperity for Americans in the name of God? If you want to put God into it, which I don't, because we should be separating religion, from state, separation of church and state. Thomas Jefferson created that for a reason. And if you look at today's society, you can see and you can understand why, right? For too long, we've been told that the only way to win a culture war is to fight harder, be louder, be more aggressive, crush the other side. And that's all a lie, right? The way out is to rise above it. The Constitution gives us the framework to do that. The Constitution is the ideology of America, right? It's a document of profound neutrality, okay? It doesn't pick a religion. It picks all religions, right? It doesn't choose a side. It picks all sides, right? As long as those sides are in the best interest of our nation and our needs, okay? It creates a process for deciding if they're in our best interest or not, right? It limits government power and it returns that power to the people through their representatives, right? It's a rule book that we all agreed to play by. The problem is that we let that rule book go. We let it gather dust. We've allowed ideologies from every angle, from Zionism to communism, right, to convince us that their ideology, their agenda is what America should be. And they're all wrong, right? What this does, it brings us to the call of action, okay? I challenge you, each and every one of you, I challenge you out there to start thinking constitutionally, okay? When you hear a politician or you hear an influencer arguing for a new law or a policy around religion, ask yourself, does this violate the Establishment Clause? Does this violate the Free Exercise Clause, right? When a pundit calls for a permanent unconditional alliance or a policy that favors another nation's security over our own, ask, is this being debated based on our national interest in Congress, right? As the Constitution's framework and our founders intended, right? Culture wars are tearing us apart, right? And it's because we've abandoned the one document that was designed for America's culture, for our culture, right? We have our own rule book, the U.S. Constitution. And within it is the wisdom for the blueprint for peace. Anyway, thanks for listening.